Welcome back. In this video we are going to be talking about lightning and flash flooding as we continue through our campaign. This video is going to be relatively short. We just don't have that much to cover in here, but we do want to address these two concerns, lightning and flash flooding, because both of them, as you can see, can kill more than tornadoes. As a matter of fact, when it comes to thunderstorms, not weather alone, but thunderstorms, flash flooding is the #1 killer, and then followed by lightning. But the other thing that's important to point out about these two things is that neither lightning nor flash flooding are considered severe weather criteria. So it doesn't matter how intense lightning is or how bad the flash flooding is, you're not going to get a severe thunderstorm warning out of it, or obviously not a tornado warning. Of course, we do have flash flood watches and warnings to address the flash flood threat, but neither of the two are considered to be criteria for a severe thunderstorm. So do not forget that. And this is basically a definition from lightning that I took from the webpage of the National Weather Service. It's kind of complicated to explain, so I thought I'd post it here. As you can see, lightning is a giant spark of electricity in the atmosphere or between the atmosphere and the ground. In the initial stages of development, air acts as an insulator between the positive and the negative charges in the cloud and between the cloud and the ground. However, when the differences in charges becomes too great, the insulating capacity of the air breaks down and there is a rapid discharge of electricity that we know as lightning. There is so much to learn about lightning, and that is very true, because this is a very fascinating part of meteorology, very neat to look at, very peculiar, interesting to study, but of course very dangerous. I can really not stress just how dangerous lightning is. I hear people all the time of getting struck by lightning. We had a storm chaser get struck by lightning earlier this year, and he knows who he is. But basically, one thing to point out is this kind of goes back to what we've been talking about throughout the series when it comes to instability, and how instability is an important factor for thunderstorms. Typically, the greater instability you have, the better lightning shows you're going to get with thunderstorms. We've talked about how during the wintertime, instability is often very limited. And so, therefore, during the wintertime, lightning is typically limited as well. And as it says right there, when the differences in charges become too great, this insulating capacity of air breaks down, there is a rapid discharge of electricity that we all know as lightning. Well, if you don't have instability to grow that updraft to be really tall, the lightning threat is going to be reduced. Chances are, if you only have about 250 joules of instability, the lightning threat is not going to be very high. You might get a few strikes, but it's just the fact that the updraft with that thunderstorm isn't very tall, and there isn't as great of a difference, quite frankly. And so that is why you don't see lightning typically when in environments with low CAPE, as we call it. CAPE is another acronym. It's convective available potential energy. It's another term, basically meteorological term for instability. So once the instability is limited, the updraft is not going to grow that as tall, and then obviously the difference in charges is not going to be as great between the cloud and the ground and the air parcels, and so the lightning threat is going to be smaller. But in the summertime, when you have a lot of instability, then the lightning threat is much greater. That is why summertime is considered to be kind of prime time for lightning and lightning shows. This is a photo of a storm. Kind of looks to me like a single cell. That's what I'm guessing. Maybe a supercell, I don't know, or a multicell. But you can see, needless to say, the updraft is really lit up because you can see lightning, a very nice lightning strike, very nice photo, probably over one of the Great Lakes, I'm guessing maybe the ocean. But needless to say, that is a pretty spectacular image. Then there's flash flooding, and there is a difference between flood and flash flooding. I apologize for the typos here and the lack of the fancy transitions and all that. Uh, when you have a flood situation, the difference is if it's a typical flood or normal flood, whatever you want to call it, is going to be flooding over a long period of time. Whereas flash flooding, again, I apologize for the typo, but flash flooding is rapid flooding over a shorter period of time, generally under 5 to 6 hours. So if you have a situation like maybe a hurricane or a big area low pressure that just kind of stalls and sits over the same area producing wave after rain, chances are it's going to be more of a flood situation. But when you have thunderstorms that kind of train over each other, as we refer to it, then you're going to have more of a flash flooding situation where you have a lot of heavy rain within a short period of time. And this is an example of what I'm talking about when it comes to flash flooding. You can see this is the radar image out of the New Orleans radar. I'm not sure when this was taken. You can see we have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings here with these storms. But I want you to notice something. These storms appear to be moving southeast, southeast. So let's pick a town here. Let's say Slidell, however you pronounce it. It looks to me like these storms are going to kind of continue going over Slidell. You got storm here, and then you got more rain and heavy rain and storms. And then you got more convection, as we call it, developing out here. It looks like it's just going to kind of train over the same area. And that will eventually most likely lead to some flash flooding problems because you're getting one storm right after another. And that's why that's what makes flash flooding so dangerous when you get that heavy rain within such a short period of time. And that can really catch a lot of people off guard. So that is something to keep in mind. And just to overview some safety tips, lightning, again, I cannot stress how important this really is because we have a lot of people get struck by lightning. And this is something that even us storm chasers have to take into consideration. Obviously, you're safer from lightning when you're indoors. So storm chasers tend to violate that rule a little bit. But perhaps this, some of the things that we've seen this year, in a couple years, over a couple years, have been making me a little more respectful to the lightning hazard. So stay indoors. A car can be safe if you're inside a car, if you're inside a vehicle. Of course, that's a different story when you have a tornado coming at you. But staying indoors is the best place. Avoid trees at all costs. Trees are most definitely a target to lightning. And when thunder roars, go indoors. That's the basic rule. This little phrase is developed by the National Weather Service, and it has perfect logic with it. When thunder roars, go indoors. It makes perfect sense. And one thing, remember, if you begin to feel the hairs in the back of your neck begin to rise, or if you begin to feel like the little charge, like you might sometimes get, like when you rub your head with a balloon and your hair tends to stick and you can feel that little charge. If you begin to feel something like that, most definitely get indoors. Do not put it off any longer. Remember, if you can hear the thunder, you are close enough to being struck by lightning. And then with flash flooding, it's quite simple. Get to higher ground. You've got to be on alert because flash flooding can be hard to predict. And just know when you have multiple thunderstorms tracking over your area, one right after another, the flash flooding potential is going to be elevated. And if you're in an area that is particularly prone to flooding, definitely be on the alert. If you live near a creek or in a low-lying area or near a river, whatever, be prepared to get to higher ground if you need to, if that water begins to rise. That's why I say here, be alert. And absolutely, I see people do this all the time. Do not drive through a flooded roadway. Turn around, don't drown. I can tell you how many times we've seen videos of people trying to drive through a flooded roadway and they've gotten stuck. It can look easy to do, but it can be very dangerous, and it can sweep your vehicle away in a heartbeat. Do not drive through a flooded roadway. Alright, that is today's video. Thanks for watching.